tormented alternately by Idre, the head maid, and Roenna, all demanding her attention for ball preparations, Marin fled to the training ground. Fortunately, her fencing lessons remained a secret. No one knew about this place. Phew. I'm exhausted. Having completed her 100 sword swings, Marin collapsed to the ground without bothering to remove her dress. Even amid the chaos of preparations, she had diligently completed the training quota Butler Seabass had assigned. Then, footsteps. Someone sprinting away at full speed. Marin hurled her wooden sword. She knew her throwing accuracy was questionable, but she might at least catch a leg. Ow! Marin leaped up and rushed toward the sound. Some red-haired boy was rubbing his thigh, grimacing in pain. The boy noticed her approaching, flinched, then turned to run again. But he ran straight toward a dead end. Stop. If you don't stop, I'll let the boy froze, equally curious. If you don't stop, what? Up close, it became clear, he had only just crossed the threshold of adulthood. His frame was large, but his voice remained high-pitched, as though it hadn't fully changed yet. Have we met somewhere before? Who knows? He glanced away furtively. The profile seemed familiar. The red-haired one at the gate, the one who claimed to be a knight, then fled. Ah. You're the one from the gate. I'm not a knight yet. Just a squire. Forgive me for lying back then. There's no need to apologize for what you don't know. At her words, the squire lifted his head slightly. He scratched the back of his neck and grinned, embarrassed. Heh. That's true. His sheepish smile seemed strangely familiar. Have we met somewhere else? Your face looks awfully familiar. I'm Yubi's. Yulia's twin. Marin's eyes widened. She knew Yulia had a twin, but she hadn't realized it was a brother. And a squire, at that. So you're Yulia's brother. Yulia praises you constantly. Please look after my sister. The request sounded surprisingly mature. Yulia is doing wonderfully on her own. Don't worry. Yubi smiled again at the praise. Without parents, the two of them had clearly held tight to each other. You're a squire? Yes. Still a squire, but I'm at a good level, they'll make me an apprentice knight soon. Before, whenever I got into fights, I'd beat everyone. I even defended Yulia. My grandfather, the butler, saw me fight once and said he'd bring me to the Duke's castle and make a knight of me. I wouldn't have come without Yulia, so they took us both. Yubi straightened his shoulders, clearly pleased to share his story. So that's how it happened. Marin nodded. She was hearing this for the first time. Yulia didn't tell you? No. Well, that's her way. She keeps everything to herself. Barely speaks. Yubi's expression shifted. Oh, and thank you for teaching those maids a lesson that time. I only found out afterward. If I'd known earlier, I would have dealt with them myself. He bowed, genuinely apologetic. He seemed fiercely protective of his sister. It was nothing. Marin waved it off. But why were you watching me here? You've been spying for days, haven't you? I wasn't spying, I was following the butler's orders. Yubi's looked genuinely offended. He's been too busy lately to come himself, so he told me to check whether you're still training. I see. Still, the program hadn't changed. One session was enough. From now on, don't lurk in the shadows. Just approach normally and report to the mentor. I can do that? Yes. And if you don't have time for your own training, you can train beside me. Oh. You really are the best. Yubi's eyes lit up. Now I understand why Yulia always says our young lady, our young lady. His enthusiasm bordered on excessive. Unlike the modest, quiet Yulia, her brother was straightforward and reckless. Gerald leaned back in his chair, leaves of mandrelson resting over his eyes. The herb truly worked. The effect was small, but for him, it was the difference between night and day. He was immune to most poisons, so the side effect, stomach cramps, likely wouldn't harm him. The thought of his stomach led inevitably to thoughts of Marin. Since returning to the castle, he had barely heard the echoes of her training near the office. He had been surprised, admittedly, by her persistent regularity. He'd assumed she would quit after a time. But for several days now, a male voice had been mixing with hers. And that voice was growing increasingly grating. K. Silence. Find out who it is. Silence. Kay nodded almost imperceptibly and vanished like wind, then returned just as swiftly. Yubi's. One of the orphans the butler took in several years ago. His twin sister serves Lady Marin. He is expected to become an apprentice knight soon. I remember. Already an apprentice? Quick. Yes. Though still young, he shows considerable ability. Currently, by the butler's orders, he oversees Lady Marin's training. At the lady's request, he also trains alongside her. At Marin's request. Kay bowed his head slightly and dissolved into the shadows once more. I think I'll take a walk myself. As she advised. Behind him, Kay's breathing caught just for an instant. The moment Gerald left his office in broad daylight, the footmen pressed themselves against the walls in alarm. Leaning on his cane, he walked at a leisurely pace, straight toward the training ground where she practiced. Lower your stance a bit more. Like this? No, like this. Yubi's demonstrated. Marin attempted to copy him. How's this? You, my lady, besides your endurance, you also have a problem with your eye. What? And nothing. I said nothing. Do you want to catch my sword again? No violence. They were still joking when the sharp knock of a cane striking stone silenced them both. Ah. Hello, Duke. Yubi's face turned to stone. He bowed deeply. Even the ever-joking squire seemed terrified of the Duke. Gerald walked straight toward Marin. Good day, Mr. Gerald. She tilted her head. What brings you here? I used this ground often, before I damaged my eyes. Marin and Yubi stared at him in surprise. Sorry. Then I'll take my leave, Duke. Yubi stuttered and began backing away. Wait. Why yes. They say you'll soon become an apprentice knight? Yes, sir. I strive to become a knight worthy of your grace's glory, one who, the Duke raised his hand. Yubi snapped his mouth shut, tensing. Marin watched this new version of Yubi's with curious interest. He had probably never stood this close to the Duke before. Talkative. Forgive me, your grace. Yubi's hung his head. Work hard. Yubi's face transformed, breaking into a radiant, disbelieving smile. Yes, your grace. I'll run now. For a squire like him, those words were monumental. How many knights dreamed of hearing such encouragement? How many sought the Duke's favor their entire careers? Marin looked at Gerald in surprise. She had assumed he was equally indifferent to everyone around him. Yubi's retreated with his shoulders practically dancing. He looked like an adult, but at heart, he was still a boy. Marin smiled at the sight, then turned back to the Duke. His expression remained impenetrable. But there was a certain discontent emanating from him. And yet, what are you doing here?